We continue with Professor Dragan Prole, the title of his paper, Albert Camus' Elementary Ethics. Welcome.
Oops. Oops. Okay. Kalimera. My dear friends, on behalf of Department of Philosophy, University of Novi Sad, I'd like to express firstly that I'm delighted to be here. During the years, I've met my Greek colleagues in Sweden, in Belgium, in Germany, in Austria, and for the very first time I had a precious opportunity to speak in front of you in your own country. And I want to point it out because globalization means that cultural exchanges between neighbor lands dropping down, while in the same time the cultural exchange between so-called metropolis and peripheria of the world are increasing. And that means that on the one hand, we have necessity to follow what it happens in most developed countries, in most developed economically and culturally. But on the other hand, it means that we should be even more considerate than we used to in order to improve our exchange, our mutual relationships in terms of culture, because we had divided memories, we had a shared experience, we had everything. Only one we miss, that's more elaborate and more systematic cultural exchange in terms of philosophy, literature, culture, and etc. And I think that I will give my best to respond to the kind invitation of Professor Papadakis and the whole department of philosophy here in Athens in order to organize for the future some common seminars, for postgraduate seminars, in order to organize translation of our best current thinkers to get to know even better, because what is the friendship about? Not only about to help your friend, like the Greek people did in the 90s, especially, if we won't forget it. But to know what does your friend hurts, what is he afraid of, how about his hopes and dreams, and how about our common further cooperation. And in following that line, I try to say something about possibility of reassessment and reevaluation of Albert Camus' concepts. I'm not here to teach you about Albert Camus, but to try to reorganize his thought in our contemporary perspective. Firstly, I'd like to say something about his philosophical origin. We knew him as a Nobel Prize winner, but he actually had obtained his degree, BA degree in philosophy, on the subject relationship between Neoplatonism and Christianity. But what interests me most is his interest directed toward Husserl's phenomenology, and he mentioned his theoretical over, Sisyphus mythos and rebelled man, l'homme révolté. He mentioned a couple of times Husserl's name, and he mentioned phenomenology as such. And I'd like to start with his thesis that we are living in in a world in which our ground or fundamental feeling is somehow connected with absurdity. Camus, I will try to quote, le climat de l'absurdité est au commencement. The climate of absurdity is at the very beginning of each other's existence. Why is that so? I'd like to say that nowadays the absurdity doesn't have anything to do with genuine existential emotions, feelings, fears, etc., but to certain division, certain gap between our scientific world and our life world. I would like to say that the only way we are capable of thinking about the progress is connected with technology. And in the same time, the science, technological science, is not able to tell us how to live. It is not able to tell us how to maintain our goals and the purposes, because it's our task. A life world and scientific world have meanwhile created a kind of mutual gap in between, because within that life world philosophy and the other keen sciences are expelled from the society in terms of some ideas, some proposals who are not directed only to quantities and to development in terms of arithmetical measurements and so on and so forth. And a kind of trouble arises if you are trying to organize your life by means of scientific criteria, by means of percentage, by means of quantities, by means of excellence in that way. And absurdity is kind of emotion we are judged, so to say, condemned to deal with. And following that way, I will try to say something about Camus' solution. Namely, his most known hero, Meursault, killed the Arabian, as we all know. And after that, I'm trying to explain why he did that. So, in that manner, Camus said he shook off the sweat and the sun. And it's a little bit hard to understand. Sweat and the sun with the killing of another human being. What does it have to do with each other? But there is an explanation I will try to suggest. The sweat is a symbol of homo faber, a working man who is sweating all the time by working. And the sun is the symbol of homo sapiens, because the sun is a metaphor of truth, of the reason, from the Plato till nowadays. And what did Meursault? He shook off the sweat and the sun in order to get rid of inherited concept of human being, either in terms of homo sapiens or in terms of homo faber. What is his suggestion? His suggestion could be understood as a kind of elementary ethics. I suggest to accept that kind of concept, because we know that Husserl's theoretical beginning is connected with putting in brackets our beliefs, our values, our conceptions, our perceptions about the outer world. And following that direction, that our basic emotion has to deal with absurdity, Camus suggested that we should practice not only theoretical but practical epoche. What does practical epoche means. That we should suspend some kind of inherited concept which are in this way or another connected with historical failures. That we should take over the responsibility for experienced evil in the history, and that our personal feeling of foreignness in this world should be overcome by introducing some kind of new solidarity. And I will try to explain you the transition from the Sisyphus gesture, which is connected with individual endeavor of each of us. We are judged to pull the rock to the top of the mountain, whence it will fall back, and we knew that. Which means that the idea of progress should be put under suspicion. Both the progress as a metaphysical term, progress of history, which cost us already a lot, and individual progress as a kind of personal improvement on the costs of our relationships toward other people. And what is Camus trying to say? That our solemn efforts towards reaction without expecting any reward, without expecting any kind of acknowledgement of or recognition from the another beings, should be overcome by something else, by some kind of new solidarity, which is the point of ethical epoche. New solidarity, I would like to connect with the idea of most important Czech philosopher Jan Patočka, who talked about solidarity of the shaken. Solidarity of the shaken is his dissident idea from the early 70s, which is similar to Camus' idea of rebellion. Rebellion is not a kind of common uprising against state, political parties, or something like that. But rebellion is a kind of common effort and common action directed to this kind of sources of contemporary evil we are capable of recognizing. And in that sense, this kind of foreignness, which is connected with our lives, which is the consequence of the division between our life world and our world as such, that kind of division, that kind of gap creates the feeling of foreignness and of absurdity. And this kind of feeling is to be overcome by introducing this kind of elementary ethics, which means to be aware of your own responsibility. If you like to take responsibility for your own world, you have to share your views. You have to express some kind of solidarity towards the people who had, as colleague Arabatsis mentioned, similar worldview, and hopefully we are be capable of that task in the future to express this kind of solidarity. Thanks for your attention.